Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and if you've been playing Super Mario Maker 2, you may well be wondering how to make even better courses than the ones you've been making already. And I don't think you're alone, otherwise we wouldn't bother making this video. It can seem weird and obtuse as to what actually makes a quote-unquote good course, and even then, you can follow every design thing down to the letter, but if nobody plays it, it's still going to be a bit of a faff. But we can't really help with that. But in terms of making courses better, there are a few little guidelines that you can follow, which we're going to go over in this video in as much detail as we can. Now, it should be mentioned that you shouldn't necessarily follow this absolutely to the letter if you feel that it doesn't suit your level. Take everything only as a guideline and not as a rule, with the exception of don't do spam levels. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. The first thing you should remember is to respect the player. Troll levels are just a write out. You just shouldn't be making them. Nobody likes to play them. I mean, yes, it may be amusing to think, oh, I've created this troll level and putting it out there and seeing, well, at least imagining a load of people going, I've been trapped. But when you yourself come across a troll level, do you ever enjoy it? I don't think you do. It's actually a pretty good mantra for life as well, but basically treat the player how you yourself would want to be treated. What would you like to see in a level that you play? Make your level like that. Also, be generous with the power-ups. Maybe more generous than you'd think, but not too generous, of course. Don't just throw them around everywhere. Perhaps add mushrooms in rather than better power-ups later down the line, so if the player's already Super Mario or Super Luigi or whatever, then they don't gain an additional hit if you want extra difficulty. But simply put, it's always nice as a player to have that little bit of margin of error so that you can take a hit and still continue, rather than being slammed right back to the checkpoint, or worse yet still, the beginning. Try and plan your course in advance. I mean, what kind of course do you want to make? Think about it. Do you want to make a puzzle level? Do you want to make a classic level? Planning in advance prevents muddied ideas and makes your level just overall a little bit more consistent and a bit more, well, enjoyable. You can plan out as much or even as little as you like, but as long as you get a basic idea, like okay, I'm going to do a puzzle level, are you going to be making a level where you need to progress and run through and it's sort of long and a series of challenges that you run to, or is it going to be just one screen? Just think it through and then apply that when creating the level. It'll help you be laser focused and make a better level overall. If you want to stay even more focused and have difficulty doing so, try and stick to just a few different enemies and course elements, so gizmos and stuff like that. I mean, you can use as much ground as you like. This not only makes things more thematically consistent, but it also aids in creativity in a strange sort of backwards way that you may not believe, as it can force you to be cleverer with how you use these limited elements that you've assigned to yourself. And this shouldn't necessarily be taken as gospel if you're making a more complex course. For example, this boss rush level that I've made uses a load of different course elements, but it is inherently at its core a simple idea. It is limited in scope, not by the number of objects used, but in terms of what you do in the level. And if you've got the confidence and you've got a really good idea that you want to implement and it uses a load of different items, then go ahead and do so. But if you're not really quite sure what you want to do and you just want to create a fun course, give yourself, maybe like 3 enemy types and maybe 2 gizmos and just see where you go from there. You'd be amazed at how much fun you can have. Bit of an odd one, this one, and you can also find this in Yamamura's dojo. In fact, there's quite a lot of this list that has been inspired from Yamamura's dojo in-game. However, you actually have to read the things in-game, and I know what you lot are like. You watch videos, you don't read, do you? Play the course without running. If you're a long-time Mario fan like me, you probably end up holding the run button down pretty much constantly, which is fine, and it's a great way to play. But, as Yamamura says, play without it and see how less experienced players may fare. Because realistically, a huge number of people that are going to be playing your level will not necessarily be holding the run button down all the time, because they're just not as experienced and they just prefer to play without the run button. And it doesn't mean that you have to make every single part of your level compatible with not holding the run button, but if a jump looks like it's, really fine when you're using the run button, chances are it's not going to be a lot of fun for most people. Not only that, but it also gives you a different perspective on the level and allows you to better judge the difficulty coming at it from a completely different angle. Better yet, get somebody else to play your course, or ideally like loads of people, people, although that's not always practical. This can simply be uploading the level and having a look where people fail and, fall in the lava or something like that, and keeping an eye on things like that. See if there's a load of people dying where realistically you didn't think it was that hard at all, and maybe rethink things. Better yet though, get some people in real life to play in front of you, so you can A, see their reaction, and see where they may be struggling in an area which you didn't think was hard at all. For example, I played this level earlier, and overall it's a pretty good course. It's not out of this world, but I enjoyed it. But there's this one area here with the twisters, and it's just, there's no secret to it. You've just got to use the twisters effectively. But it's ridiculously hard for what it is. It shouldn't be this difficult. If the other twister was a little bit lower or something like that, it would be so much easier and so much more acceptable. But instead, I found myself frustrated and just bored by doing this over and over again. Just make things a little bit easier and everyone's going to have a much better time. If you do manage to get some people to play your course, ask them specifics. Ask them which bits did you like, which parts made you feel really good, which were which was your favorite bit, but most importantly, ask them what they didn't like. Now, it may be, you may be a little bit reluctant to ask what people didn't like, but that is the best way you can possibly improve a level, because you don't learn that much from a success, but you do learn a lot from a failure. So make sure you ask them what they don't like and change things up so that they like them. It's okay to be wrong sometimes. If your level feels easy, don't immediately ramp up the difficulty. Now, yes, I know you don't want your course to be too easy. Believe me, I don't want that either. But you yourself, the creator, are simply the worst judge of a course's difficulty and indeed fun factor. You've placed each individual tile down and you know it better than anyone else ever will. Chances are, if you think your course is a little bit tricky but that a competent player could get through it all in only one life, then that's probably about the right level of challenge, as players will be completely unfamiliar with your course, unlike you, so they'll have to be sort of learning things as they go along, massively ramping up the difficulty. They don't know that Banzai Bill is going to come around the corner, but you do, so you've prepared for it. Make secrets and bonus rooms and things like that an afterthought, because yes, secrets are incredibly fun to include, but do not make them the focus of your level. You may have hidden something super well and you're really, really proud of it and you want to show it off to people, and that's great. But if it's well hidden, most people won't see it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't include it, absolutely not. It's a great way to really encourage people to explore and find hidden things, and as a result, their satisfaction levels will go through the roof. But it's way more important to concentrate on making the mandatory part of your course fun before worrying about bonus areas or secrets or anything like that, because yeah, the bonuses may be great, but if only half the people are going to see it, only half the people are going to give you the likes, aren't they? And that's not good. Give the player hints in tricky areas, even if it's just an arrow pointing somewhere. If something seems a little bit complex or maybe even slightly obtuse, help them out. The purpose of your course is not necessarily to outfox the player, with the exception of things like puzzle rooms, but instead it's to entertain them and make sure that they are playing a level that they enjoy. And if giving a little hint here and there means that they enjoy it more, even if it just takes a bit of the challenge off, you know what? It's a worthy sacrifice. Avoid spam! Just avoid spam every single time. There are a handful of instances where spam can be fun, especially if it's like coins or something like that, but really, really, really think about it. Would you want to play a level that's just a load of enemies being thrown at you that's almost impossible to avoid? No, I seriously doubt it, so don't give other people that kind of experience. The same goes for hidden traps as well. If there's a thwomp off screen and the player can't see it and doesn't know it's going to happen, they're not going to avoid it, and they probably won't have enough time to do so, and so that's not fun at all. It's really not fun. Make sure you telegraph what's going to happen before it does, as long as you're not giving the game away entirely. Make sure you avoid soft locking as well. If it's possible for players to get trapped and unable to progress, that's really, really bad. If you're making a simple, straightforward level, then it should be easy because there's very few instances where that's realistically going to occur. But if you're making something more complex, again, using my boss rush course as an example, it can be really challenging. In fact, someone on Twitter pointed out that they managed to get a Sledge Bro caught on top of this thwomp, as you can see here, meaning that they simply could not complete the room and they were trapped. Not ideal. Thankfully, the Sledge Bro, I think, as long as his hammer didn't break on the ceiling, had actually. I hadn't considered that. Oh dear. But regardless, you want to avoid these instances as much as you possibly can. Now, it may not be entirely possible to do so and to be able to plan for everything, but as long as you make the effort to make a vast majority of the level flow beautifully and not trap you, then that's good. Checkpoints as well can be particularly troublesome on some complex courses. Here on the same course, I had to add a back door in order to prevent people from getting trapped if they re-entered the boss room when they shouldn't have. It's by no means as pretty, and there's in fact just a fake door there as well that you just flat out can't access, and there is probably a much more elegant solution, but this works, and that's the most important thing. If you're new to Mario Maker, then keep things simple. I know it's all too tempting to try and create a course that uses loads of interesting and fun ideas, but if you're inexperienced, you'll likely not have the restraint to make it actually good and balanced. It's absolutely fine though, we all have to start somewhere, but stick to making basic simple levels with perhaps maybe one crazy element used cleverly and sparingly. Remember, less is more. Then you can move on to the more complex stuff as you become more accustomed and more practiced. And lastly, respect the player. Yes, the same thing again. Seriously, just think about how you would want to be treated in a level and do the same thing. Yes, it's fine to do traps and things like that, and maybe to catch people out, as long as they've got, as long as it's not too cruel, you know, and too unexpected. Make unexpected things fun and sort of an, oh dear, I've got to sort of react to this, rather than an out and out, you're dead now, you got to go back to the start. And there you have it. If you follow those tips, you should hopefully be making better Mario Maker levels in no time at all. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you adjust that subscribe button so it's not quite as difficult as you think it really should be? And be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.